Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host for today. We are talking UFC 311, headlined by Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. And listen, we are coming off a winning night, the first of 2025, and excited about it because we went out there and cashed our 4-unit best bet play on Santiago Ponzinibbio, got us to cash in, knockout in that 3rd round. And we did get Ponzinibbio. We gave it out to clients at plus 102 and ended up closing at about minus 140, minus 130, depending where you're shopping it. And that's one thing that we've got to always, kind of touch on a little bit too, is we're looking for line value. That's one big thing for me, is that it's not just we're giving picks out or we're just, hey, this guy's going to win. We're looking for line value. We're looking for opportunities to place our money in strong positions. We were able to do that last weekend to cash in for clients. So this weekend, I have a 5-unit max bet. Last year, we were 14-2 on max bet plays over 2024. And we're going to start off with the winner this weekend as well and keep this ball rolling. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Again, have that 5-unit play, and as well as other plays will be added. Probably going to have about 4 or 5, probably more towards the 5 side of plays for this weekend. So excited to see how that all plays out. If you want to become a client, click the link. If not, we are going to talk 4 plays for UFC 311. And let's kick it off with the first play for this event, which is going to be the main event of the evening between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan. Now, you've got Arman here, the underdog, at plus 310, but you've got a big favorite here in Islam Makhachev at minus 400. Now, in this fight here, this is a rematch from their fight back in 2019 where was a lot of wrestling going on. You saw both of them diving at legs, a lot of scrambles, a lot of positional control between both of these guys. And really, that was mostly that when you were looking at this type of fight. You've got a spot here where Islam was 4 for 9 on takedowns. You have Arman, who was 1 for 12 on takedowns. And even in that situation, it was really the only takedown that Islam has suffered in his UFC career. So it does say a lot about Arman when you're looking at that. But when you're looking at the strikes in that fight, not a lot to take away from either one of them there. 14 strikes landed for Islam, 13 strikes landed for Arman, but really was the positional stuff that really banked the rounds and got Islam to get that victory. But you got to remember, though, Arman was 23 years old at that point. He was on a UFC debut coming in on short notice. That is a tall ask for a guy facing Islam in his first fight. But either way, he goes out there, gets the victory. Now, years later, we are getting the rematch, which is going to be absolutely amazing, I think, between these two. Now, the one thing here I'm looking at it is that I believe this is probably one of the toughest matchups that Islam could have in the division. This is not an easy fight for him. Whatever the odds say, this is a tough fight overall between it because both these guys do a lot of the same things. And that's one thing about this fight that is hard to break down. It's because both of them do a lot of the same things. Both of them are high-level wrestlers. Both of them are guys who want to set a pace, push it on you. And then they're also both increasing their striking. They're slowly getting better and better, crisper striking, better striking, tucking, takedowns behind big combinations. And that's really worked out well for him. And again, it's hard to find weaknesses or a path for one particular guy to say, hey, this guy could really excel in this position, or this guy could really excel in this position. And that's most of the time, that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to find paths to victory, find opportunities for a certain fighter, if you can get that done. And then we're looking at the value and the line and seeing if it's worth the price. And in this spot here, the line is wide, and it's tough to really validate, Makhachev at a minus 400. Yes, he should be the favorite. Yes, all the right reasons he should be the favorite there. But, when you're looking at this is going to be a spot where both of these guys are going to have opportunities. And I think stylistically, Arman's explosive. He's athletic. There's a lot of things that he can do, tucking, again, working in the striking, working in some of the opportunities for the takedowns. And, one of the things that I think is at a point, now I'm not saying it's something that is definite, But I do believe that the weight cut for Islam is starting to get to him. I think that at this point, every fighter says that, once you're getting to a certain age, again, Islam is not old, but there's a point where you just, you've been cutting weight, and you just want to move up. And I'm not saying that that's what he wants to do, but you have seen him, dip his toe moving up to, another division, looking to fight for titles. And that's the kind of thing that I think that starts to really point towards Arman here, especially at this price. I think there's going to be a lot of competitive opportunities here for both of them. I don't think that, Islam can cover this number. This number is huge. I think that it's such a big number that, Islam needs to really go out there and dominate for 5 rounds or knock Arman out, early to cover this type of number. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think they're both going to have opportunities here. And again, I don't really have a huge, I'm going over this main one here because everyone wants me to talk about the main event, but I don't really have a real big take on either one of this here. For me, when I'm looking at a fight like this, I got to go with the underdog here and the big plus money. I think I could see Islam going out there, controlling the action, winning some rounds, banking some rounds, having some moments on Arman in a big spot and winning by decision. But I lean more towards the sprinkle on Arman Tsarukyan, especially at this plus 310 number. I think the number's too big. And in this spot, I'm going to sprinkle Arman Tsarukyan. I think he has an opportunity to squeak out a victory. Next one here we're going to be talking about is going to be Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili. Now you've got Umar here sitting around the minus 310. On the comeback here, you've got Merab Dvalishvili at plus 260. Now, both of these guys and both of them in the headliner and the co-main event, we're going to have elite level wrestling coming from both of these guys. So I think we're going to see some great wrestling overall. But you cut Umar here, who absolutely is, has the good, comes from the camp, comes from, the Khabibs, and, 18-0, he has looked good and has a big victory over Corey Sandhagen. He was able to go out there, get takedowns, get control time, find opportunities to really bank the rounds, and he went out there and got the victory. Now, the issue for me here, again, when we're first looking at this, is the line. This is a big line here for a guy in a step up in competition here. This is a huge step up here for Umar. And you got to first look at the competition level. When you're looking at the competition level here, you've got Umar, who, yes, Corey Sandhagen, tough guy overall, but we've seen him being taken down. We've seen him that he's been able to be controlled. We've seen, Aljamain go out there, backpack him and choke him out and finish him in the first round. So that is a vulnerability. And it was something that worked in a very good path here for Umar to get a takedown and just kind of bank rounds. But when you look at really who else he's beat, I'm not that impressed. He went out there and beat Beksat, who comes from Octagon promotion, goes out there, beats Beksat. Beksat's 0-1 in the UFC. We have not heard from him since. And, even in that fight, Beksat dropped Umar early in that fight, which I think is not the greatest look overall. But again, he ended up knocking him down. And then Umar, to his credit, came back and was able to dominate the wrestling. But prior to that, it's Hani Barcelos. Hani Barcelos' 2-4 run at the end of his career. Nate Maness, who is cut from the UFC. Brian Kelleher was before that, who was on an 0-4 run right now. That's not the competitive high level that you would expect a guy that's about to be a big favorite, in a title fight against a current champion. Now, you look at Merab on the other side here. Merab has fought former champions and has looked great doing it. You look at it, you've got obviously Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is a, world-class striker, great footwork, great range. He's starting to work really on the, trying to be a little bit more defensive on the takedowns, but he goes out there, beats O'Malley. You got Jose Aldo, probably the best, takedown defense, when it comes to the division. You got him. He goes out there, beats him. You also got Peter Yan. Peter Yan is an absolute killer. He goes out there, dominates Peter Yan, gets the victory, and even out wrestling Henry Cejudo, an Olympian, 2-division champion, and goes out there and out wrestles him. And that says a ton. Now, I understand Henry at the end of his career. I get that whole part. But either way, he goes out there and out wrestles Henry Cejudo, stuff that we have not seen Henry really really deal with. So I think that does say a lot. Now, the other part here is that Umar's not at a face adversity. None of these guys really were going out there and dominating. Now, Becksat dropped him, and that is a little bit of something there, but I'm talking about a full-on pace. Someone who's going to push a pace, 5 rounds, be in your face, dive at legs, stay on you, not let you have any time to breathe. Even if he's laying on top, Merab's going to keep working. And the way that Merab weaponizes his cardio, weaponizes his pace, I think is going to be very difficult here for Umar to have to deal with. He's never had to have to deal with that. He's never had to really dig deep. He's been the pace setter. He's been the guy that's been relentless. He's been the guy that's had the opportunities to control the action. And now it's going to be, I believe, the other way when you're looking at it. And he's battle tested. He's been through these guys. He's faced some tough guys in the division and former champions. Umar just has not had to face any of those guys. And also, I believe that Merab has the strength and the physicality advantages over Umar. I would say the strength and physicality is with Khabib. I think that the strength and physicality is with Islam. I don't think that Umar has that physicality advantage in this spot here. And I think that weaponizing the cardio, I think that, the experience that we have seen Merab have throughout his career, especially in these big moments against these top-notch fighters, and have to deal with that. And now we're going to be on him, pushing the pace, looking to put him into deep water. I think that's going to be very difficult for Umar to have to really push through some of that. And lastly, you've got, now you're looking at the line here again, minus 330 and a step up in competition in his first pay-per-view against a current champion who has faced far better strength of schedule. To me, I think Umar is the goods. I'm not saying Umar is some, he's not going to be something. I think he can. I just think this is a terrible, tough matchup for Umar in this spot. I think that Merab at a plus 260, I think that this is the side. I like Merab to get the job done. I think this is a dog or pass spot. And I just think, Merab gets the job done. So I am taking Merab Dvalishvili plus 260. Next one here we're going to go over is De Ridder versus Holland. Now, Reinier De Ridder versus Holland. This is interesting. Now, you've got Reinier De Ridder, 2-division champion from ONE FC. He's a big wrestler, big guy, huge frame, gonna come forward, march forward, look for those takedowns, look for positional control, look for top control, and really do those things that you'd expect a guy to do that's gonna push a wrestling pace. Now, his UFC debut, he goes out there, he beats Gerald Meerschaert. Credit to him beating Gerald Meerschaert. But also, with a win, it's any win in the UFC, a guy coming in from another organization, you got to give him credit, goes out there, gets the job done. But I don't think he could look any worse in that victory. He got the W, but also I thought he looked really bad facing a guy in Gerald Meerschaert who's 37 years old, who really doesn't have, I think, much left in the tank to begin with. Sloppy wrestling. He was sliding off. He looked just off on a lot of situations there where I thought maybe he could have maybe picked up the pace a little bit or could have maybe found opportunity. There were points where both these guys were just dead tired, like completely tired and almost laying on each other, sliding off each other. And I think that's a bad sign. Now, I do understand the fact that right now he's about to fight Kevin Holland, and does it work into a strength of De Ridder? Of course. Now we know Kevin Holland doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. We understand that is going to be, the path here. It is available, I think, for De Ridder to do that. The money has come in on De Ridder. He opened at plus 130. He's sitting around minus 120 right now. So money continues to come in on him, but I just disagree with it completely. I am not sold on De Ridder at all. I think, overall, I'm just not impressed with him and what I've seen, even past, what I've seen, even in, outside and at ONE FC when he lost, there were times where when he faces adversity, he looks to crumble. He looks to break. And there was even a point against Meerschaert where it looked like he was about to break. Things weren't going his way. And all of a sudden, it looked like he was starting to backpedal, ended up dropping. GM3, that kind of started to change the things a little bit. But either way, it just didn't look that good. Now, I do understand that again, there's the path is there for him, and I do understand that. But this is a spot where cardio, I think, is going to be an issue here. First round, I think DeRitter can look for takedowns, look for some of that control time, but Kevin Holland is a guy who can fight 5 rounds. He's a guy that doesn't have cardio issues. I think he can work at range. I think he can, utilize some of his reach. And I think some of that is going to help him here, where the deeper this fight goes, we've seen the sloppier and sloppier that DeRitter continues to be. Even again, outside the UFC, he looks to almost have a round of gas. He, like, literally almost looks to have that. Now, Kevin is going to push that. I think Kevin is going to be able to push that here. And also the fact that his takedowns, he shoots them from across the octagon. And again, a tired guy in GM3, in the smaller Apex cage, he was able to kind of dive on him, push him up against the fence, and you kind of find those exchanges in the clinch. But now we're in the big cage. Kevin Holland, rangy, long guy. Now, this fight stays on the feet. Kevin Holland is going to piece him up throughout the fight. I don't see anything that I see. I think his DeRitter striking is absolute trash. I don't think he has any striking at all. And that's from a guy who's a 2-division champion outside the UFC, has zero striking and no cardio. It just doesn't make sense to me here. Kevin Holland's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. He's going to have way faster hands. I think his rangy striking is going to be there. He's going to have the power. Now, we don't know what kind of Kevin Holland we get. There's times where, he looks uninterested. He makes stupid mistakes. There's times where he could be, get on top of, Wonder Boy. He lets him back up, doesn't work out his way. There's just a lot of times where it doesn't seem like Kevin Holland is that interested. That could be an issue in this spot here, but overall, I just think Holland should be able to beat a guy of Reinier DeRitter's caliber. I'm not high on him. I think that if DeRitter pulls out this victory, I can't even imagine who he faces next. I think a step up in competition would absolutely destroy him. I think Kevin Holland's wishy-washy, caring, not caring, doesn't want to fight for titles, just wants to fight for money. He just said he wants to fight 6 or 7 times this year. It's a guy that, is a wild card, but the money continually comes in on him. You're looking at Kevin Holland at a plus 100 number now. We're looking at a pick 'em price tag. To me, it's got to be Kevin Holland. I think he's got the opportunity to land the big shots. If he gets out of that first round, I think he's going to do a lot of damage to DeRitter, and DeRitter's is going to start to wilt. I think his cardio is going to start to give out, and Kevin Holland can find a big shot and land it. Of course, I think he's got to get out of that first round. It could get a little dicey, but either way, I am going Kevin Holland for the victory at plus 100. And the last one here we're going to be going over is going to be Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. And this is now we're looking at Grant Dawson minus 260 on the comeback here for Diego is plus 210. Now, this is going to be a grappler versus grappler type of matchup here. I think it's going to be very interesting. And we look at it, you've got Dawson, who is going to be just pushing the relentless takedowns, relentless pace, looking to wrestle, looking to get on top of you. He got that quick first step. Going to be looking to positionally be on top of you, slick back takes. The guy definitely has opportunity to get you down there. He can quickly get to a dominant position, control you for the round, submission hunt. A lot of great things that Grant Dawson can do. Now on the other side here, you've got Diego here, solid jiu-jitsu. The guy definitely is a threat, even on the ground. He's definitely an opportunistic type of guy, always looking to latch on to something. But the big part here is the striking. And that is going to be a very wide gap between these two guys. Diego has big power. He definitely has the far better striking overall, very basic, wild striking coming out of Grant Dawson. But when you're looking at, Diego here, the striking is going to be where it's at. And also we have seen multiple times of just kind of, the chin. The chin is an absolute liability on Grant Dawson's side. He got sparked out by basically like a jab against Bobby Green. There definitely is question marks about that. But you also look at it now, Diego, 40 years old. Where is he now at this particular spot here? And the high pace, the high wrestling of Grant Dawson, I think is where he finds success here. I think he can look to push forward. He can look to just continually wrestle. And I think his chain wrestling and staying on him is going to start to slow down Diego throughout this fight. And that's where I think that you can find Dawson finding success, starting to take him down. He does not want to stand and strike at all with Diego. So I think he's going to sell out for those takedowns and really control the action. And also when you're looking at it, Diego's never been submitted. So I don't think that, if Dawson gets a takedown, that he's going to find a quick submission. You've got Diego who's never been submitted in his career. I think that Dawson can get some ground and pound going, can win positionally, can bank rounds. But I think that Diego can at least stay safe and get through this fight here, where I think there will be some close moments, keep it competitive, but I do believe that Grant Dawson gets the job done. So looking at this spot here, you got Grant Dawson minus 260 in books right now, and not every book has this number out right now, but some books have it out right now. You got Grant Dawson by points is at plus 163. I think that's a pretty good number. I think that's a likely outcome here. Again, Diego has not been submitted in his career. I think that Dawson can work the takedowns, work control time, stay safe, as Diego also stays safe and does not get submitted. So I'm going Grant Dawson by points plus 163. So there you have it for UFC 311. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. And we're going to keep this rolling. Got a max bet this weekend, cashed on our 4th unit best bet last weekend. Let's keep this rolling, and you know what to do. Let's cash.